welcome to all devotees. Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tata Jayam Udiret. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Voti Nashtiki. Hare Krishna. Today we continuing Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto first chapter 5th. Narada's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam. Shloka number 26 and 27. Please recite after me. Tatra anu aham Krishna katha pragayatam.
तत्र अनु अहम कृष्ण कथा प्रगायताम
अनुग्रहेण अश्रुणवम मनोहराः.
अनुग्रहेण अश्रुणवम मनोहराः
ताः श्रद्धया मे अनुपदं विशृण्वत.
ताः श्रद्धया मे अनुपदं विशृण्वतः
प्रियश्रवसी अंगमम अभवत् रुचिः.
प्रियश्रवसी अंग मम अभव रुचिः
तस्मिन् तदा लब्धरुचे महामते.
तस्मिन् तदा लब्धरुचेः महामतेः
प्रियश्रवसी अस्खलितामति मम.
प्रियश्रवसी अस्खलितामति मम
यया अहम् एतत् सत् असत् स्वमायया.
यया अहम् एतत् सत् असत् स्वमायया
पश्ये मयि ब्रह्मणि कल्पितं परे.
पश्ये मयि ब्रह्मणि कल्पितं परे
तत्र अणु अहं कृष्ण कथा प्रगायताम्.
तत्र अनु अहं कृष्ण कथा प्रगायताम्
अनुग्रहेण अश्रुणवं मनोहरः.
अनुग्रहेण अश्रुणवं मनोहराः
ताः श्रद्धया मे अनुपदं विशृण्वत.
तः श्रद्धया मे अनुपदं विशृण्वतः
प्रियश्रवसी अंग मम अभवत् रुचिः.
प्रियश्रवसी अंग मम अभवत् रुचिः
तस्मिन् तदा लब्धरुचे महामते.
तस्मिन् तदा लब्धरुचेः महामते
प्रियश्रवसी अस्खलितामति मम.
प्रियश्रवसी अस्खलितामतिः मम
यया अहम् एतत् सत् असत् स्वमायया.
यया अहम् एतत् सत् असत् स्वमायया
पश्ये मयि ब्रह्मणि कल्पितं परे.
पश्ये मयि ब्रह्मणि कल्पितं परे तत्र अनु अहं कृष्ण कथा प्रगायताम् अनुग्रहेण अशृण्वं मनोहराः तः श्रद्धया मे अनुपदं विशृण्वतः प्रियश्रवसी अंग मम अभवत् रुचिः तस्मिन् तदा लब्धरुचेः महामते प्रियश्रवसी अस्खलितामति मम यया अहम् एतत् सत् असत् स्वमायया पश्ये मयि ब्रह्मणि कल्पितं परे। डॉक्टर करपकावली माता जी।
प्रभु जी, थैंक यू प्रभु जी। तत्र नवहं कृष्ण कथा प्रगायतम् अनुग्रहेणे अनश्रवणवं मनोहरा तच्छ्रद्धा मे नूपदं विश्रण्वता प्रिय अस्त्रवसी अंगम भवदृष्टि तस्मिन् तदा लब्धा रुचिर्महामते प्रिय श्रेयावसी आश्केलिता मतिर्मम यया हम यत् सत् असत्य स्वमायाय पश्य मयि ब्रह्मणि कल्पितं परे।
आशीष प्रभु
थैंक
जी।
यू प्रभु जी।
पूनम माता जी।
तत्र न भावाहं कृष्ण कथा प्रज्ञायातम् अनुग्रहेण श्रवणं श्रवणं अश्रुणवं मनोहर ताः श्रद्धया मे अनुपदं विष्णुवतः प्रियश्रवसी अंग मम
अभवत् रुचिः
तस्मिस्तदा अभवत् रुचिः तस्मिन् तदा तस्मिन् तदा लब्धरुचिर्महामते प्रियस्रवसि अस्खलिता मतिर्मम ययाहम् एतत् सत् असत् स्वमायया तस्य मयि ब्रह्मणि कल्पितं
पूनम माता
परे.
जी
Translation and purport.
पूनम
हरे
माता
कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
जी।
तत्र अनु अहं कृष्ण कथा प्रगायतम अनुग्रहेण श्रवणम मनोहरा ताः श्रद्धया मे अनुपदम विष्णुवतः प्रिये श्रवसे अंगम मम भवद रुचि तस्मिन् तदा लब्ध रुचिर महामते प्रिय श्रवसे अस्खलिता मतिर्मम यया अहम् एतद् सद् असद् स्वामयया पश्य मयि ब्रह्मणि
श्रीधर
कल्पितं
प्रभु जी
परे।
श्रीधर प्रभु जी
Translation
हरे
and
कृष्ण।
यस प्रभु जी प्लीज रीड
तत्रार्भकं कृष्णकदा प्रकायतम् अनुगृहेण शृण्वन् मनोहर ता श्रद्धा मेऽनुपतं विश्वरुन्वता प्रयस्त्वरसि अङ्ग मम भवत्रुचि तस्मिन् से तदा लब्धरुचिर्महामते प्रियश्रवसि हस्लिका मतिर्मम ययाहम् एतत् सत् असत्स्व मायया यस्य पश्ये मयि प्रहमणि कल्पितं परे। हरे कृष्ण।
translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Vasudeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. O great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching, and as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the absolute personality of Godhead, is attractive not only in his personal features but also in his transcendental activities. It is so because the absolute is absolute by his name, fame, form, pastimes, entourage, paraphernalia, etc. The Lord descends to this material world out of his causeless mercy and displays his various transcendental pastimes as a human being, so that human being attracted towards him become able to go back to Godhead. Men are naturally apt to hear stories and narrations of various personalities performing mundane activities without knowing that by such association one simply waste valuable time and also become addicted to the three qualities of mundane nature. Instead of wasting time, one can get spiritual success by turning his attention to the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. By hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Lord, one contact directly the personality of Godhead. And as explained before, the hearing about the personality of Godhead from within, all accumulated sins of the mundane creatures are cleared. Thus, being cleared of all sins, the hearer gradually becomes liberated from mundane association and becomes attracted to the features of the Lord. Narada Muni has just explained this by his personal experience. The whole idea is that simply by hearing about the Lord's pastimes, one can become one of the associates of the Lord. Narad Muni has eternal life, unlimited knowledge, and unfathomed bliss, and he can travel all over the material world, material and spiritual world without restriction. One can attain to the highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord from the right sources. As Sri Narada heard them from the pure devotees Bhakti Vedantas in his previous life, this process of hearing in the association of the devotees is especially recommended in this age of Kali. Ignorance in material existence is compared to darkness, and in all Vedic literatures, the personality of Godhead is compared to the sun. Wherever there is light, there cannot be darkness. Hearing of the Lord's pastime is itself transcendental association with the Lord, because there is no difference between the Lord and his transcendental pastime. To become associated with the supreme light is to dissipate all ignorance. By ignorance only, the conditioned soul wrongly thinks that both he and the Lord are products of material nature. But in fact, the personality of Godhead and the living being are transcendental, and they have nothing to do with the material nature. When ignorance is removed and it is perfectly realized that there is nothing existing without the personality of Godhead, then sense is removed. Since the gross and subtle bodies are emanations from the personality of Godhead, the knowledge of light permits one to engage both of them in the service of the Lord. The gross body should be engaged in acts of rendering service to the Lord, as in bringing water, cleansing the temple, or making obeisance, etc. The path of archana, or worshipping the Lord in the temple, involves engaging one's gross body in the service of the Lord. Similarly, the subtle mind should be engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, thinking about them, chanting his name, etc. All such activities are transcendental. None of the gross or subtle senses should otherwise be engaged. Such realization of transcendental activities is made possible by many years of apprenticeship and the devotional service, but simply attraction of love for the personality of Godhead, as it was developed in Narad Muni by hearing, is highly effective. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya
नमोऽभिष्टं स्थापितमेन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण सर्वः आकर्षयति इति कृष्णः. So one who is all attractive is Krishna. And that Krishna is appearing tomorrow. And we are all celebrating Krishna Janmashtami. Krishna Janmashtami Mahotsav ki Jai. So it should not be that he is appearing only And so we are just participating or maybe celebrating his appearance. Because Krishna is not attractive only by his personal features. As mentioned in the shloka today, he is also very, 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 very attractive when it comes to his transcendental activities. Because Krishna is absolute. And absolute by his name, fame, form, pastimes, entourage, paraphernalia, etc. Now just look at it. Can anyone imagine at the age of just 5 years to pick up a big Govardhan mountain on the left hand, little finger tip? Is it not attractive activity? Or Krishna, when he's playing his flute, is it not very attractive to your ears? Or Krishna, when he is giving the instructions to Arjuna, who was not only his devotee, but also a dear friend, he becomes all the more attractive. So with the name, fame, form, pastimes, so many leelas, right from his birth itself, wherein he declares, he makes it aware to his maternal uncle, I am coming to kill you. And creates a situation whereby his maternal uncle increases his sins so that he can immediately get rid of him on this pious earth. His entourage, his paraphernalia. Just look at Sudarshan Chakra. You all know, even in Jagannath Puri, we have Sudarshan Chakra on the top of the temple. And whichever side you look at it, it's always facing you. Is it not transcendental? Is it not attractive? Or even his veena, even his flute, or his shankha, which creates fear in the minds of everyone who is listening to it, as you have seen in his various leelas. So anything related to Krishna is always attractive. And that is why when we start listening to it, we become purified. Otherwise, naturally what happens now? Since we are used to listening, see, we have got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So what it means is we speak once but hear twice. So everyone is apt to hear history, narrations of various personalities. But then, being overcome by Maya, they find happiness in mundane activities without knowing that by such association, we are simply wasting valuable time and also becoming addicted to the 3 modes of material or mundane nature. So Prabhupada ji says, don't waste time. You can get spiritual success by turning this attention to transcendental pastimes of Lord. Because when we hear these pastimes of Krishna, we actually come directly in contact with Krishna. Krishna Nama, Krishna Avatara. So Krishna is available in the form of his name. So when you are listening to the pastimes, you are listening to Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So we are directly in contact with Krishna. And where do we go to know about the pastimes? In Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam is the book incarnation of Krishna. So again, we are directly in touch with Krishna. So either way, the moment we are in touch with Krishna, what happens is all the accumulated sins are cleared. How is it possible? Let us take a very simple example. We all know that we have a broom, and if the broom is coming in contact with the floor, what it does is it removes the dirt on the floor. If broom is not in contact with the floor, the dirt will accumulate. But the moment the floor comes in contact with the broom, immediately dirt vanishes. Because the broom has that power. Krishna has similar power. So whatever are accumulated sins, they are cleared simply by hearing about Lord's pastimes. One can become one of the associates of the Lord. And that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said this. Cheto darpana marjanam bhavam mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadhu jivanam. So the heart, the mirror-like heart is getting cleansed. Cheto darpana marjanam. And how? Simply by chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And it's not theory. We have documented evidences. Narad Muni, we all know he has an eternal life. He has unlimited knowledge. He has unfathomed bliss. He can travel all over the material and spiritual worlds without restriction. But how did he get it? He got it simply by hearing from the pure devotees, Bhakti Vedantas in his previous life. So you can attain the highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord from the right sources. And what are the right sources? That which comes in the Guru Parampara, Guru Shishya Parampara, that is the right source. Because they don't say anything out of their experience. Whatever they speak as it is. Otherwise, this material world is full of ignorance. And that is why it is compared to darkness, andhatamaha. Like we saw day before yesterday, how it is compared to the dark well. And we also explained why it is compared that. But we also know that if there is light, can there be darkness? No. And in Vedic literatures, Krishna is compared to sun. So the moment we come in touch with Krishna, there is light. And if there is light, can there be darkness of ignorance? No. We immediately get knowledge. So all the ignorance is vanished. And we become purified in our existence, which is very, very important. So hearing of the Lord's pastimes is itself transcendental association with the Lord. Because there is no difference between Lord and his transcendental pastimes. When ignorance is removed and it is perfectly realized that there is nothing existing without the personality of Godhead, then nescience is removed. See, that is why Prabhupada ji always tells us that you should be engaging yourself in various kinds of activities. Active engagement is very, very important in life. And this is what is getting explained by Narad Muniji to Srila Vyasdev. So while initially he is saying that he could hear from the Vedantis the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and because he listened attentively, his taste for hearing of Krishna increased at every step. And then the moment he got the taste of Krishna, his attention to hear Krishna was unflinching. Taste developed. And he realized that it was his ignorance that he had accepted gross and subtle coverings as fact, while he, as well as Krishna, is transcendental. So similarly, we have to overcome this ignorance, just like Narad Muniji came out. So for that, it is important that this gross body should be engaged in acts of rendering service to the Lord. So it can be bringing water, cleansing the temple, making dandavat pranam, obeisances, preparing maybe batis, preparing garlands. So whatever you can do. Distributing prasadam, distributing books. So the body has to be engaged. We know the story of that king who prays to Krishna that why you have given me only 2 years, I should have got crores of years so that I could listen more. Prithu Maharaj. That is the importance of listening and engaging the body always. See, this path of Archana or worshipping of the Lord in the temple, this also involves engaging the gross body in the service of the Lord. So maybe when Lord is being shifted from one place to another for a festival, you carrying the Lord in your lap. That's also a seva. So whatever way you can, you should engage your body, all the activities. And even the mind, which is very subtle, should be engaged. So how can it be engaged? It has to be engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, thinking about them, chanting His name, remembering about Him. As we saw in yesterday's class, that if you start concentrating and continuously thinking about the lotus feet of the Lord, then you will realize the actual lotus feet of the Lord and will become one with the Lord to overcome the material bhavasagar and go back home, back to Godhead. So realization of such transcendence of Krishna is very, very important. And this is possible, or I'll say made possible, only by many, many years of apprenticeship in devotional service. So unless you are actively engaged in devotional service, it may not happen immediately. It may take many, many years. It may even take birth. But simply attraction of love for the personality of Godhead, as was developed by Narad Muni, by hearing, is highly effective. So everything starts with this Shravanam, hearing. And we have to continue doing it somehow or the other. You should not allow any kind of a break in this activity. Every opportunity we get, we should engage our ears to hear about Krishna. Hearing anything else is useless and a wastage of time. So tomorrow is actual Janmashtami. So tomorrow midnight Krishna is going to appear. We'll be keeping fast throughout the day. And we'll be eagerly waiting for Krishna to appear and hopefully appear in our hearts as well. And then we'll have a feast at midnight. And then again we are fasting for Nandotsav on Tuesday till noon, when it is a celebration of the appearance of Jagat Guru, His Divine Grace, Abhayacharnarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo